What you're looking at right now, assuming you're watching the video and not just looking at something else while listening to the video, is actual native 4K footage of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt with maxed out graphical settings running on my gaming PC. My gaming PC cost me a pretty decent amount of money to build. It's definitely not in the $400 to $600 price range, that's for sure. Now, gameplay footage like this, running in this high of a graphical setting, in this high of a resolution, at this stable frame rate, is not something you are going to get on any game consoles releasing this generation. Not the PlayStation 4 Pro, not the Xbox Scorpio. I know, we kept hearing yesterday at the PlayStation meeting, 4K this, 4K that, 4K game footage, extra detail. But if you were actually paying attention and listening in this conference, they outright said in the middle of the conference that the 4K footage that they're doing with their games is not the quote-unquote brute force method, aka actually rendering the games in 4K. What they're doing is rendering the games in either 1080p or maybe 1440p and upscaling the image, which just means stretching the image to fit your screen. It does not mean anything else. It doesn't add more detail. I'm sick of console fanboys using upscaling as a reason to argue something, because it doesn't mean anything beyond stretching an image to fit a screen. In addition to upscaling the image, they're also applying some temporal anti-aliasing and other texture filtering methods to make the stretched image look smoother, but not necessarily more detailed than the initial 1080p or 1440p image. Now, that is not actual 4K gaming. What you're seeing on your screen right now, assuming you're watching my video and not something else, is actual 4K gaming, running on a gaming PC where the graphics card alone costs as much as the PlayStation Pro will. I'm using a GTX 1070. So let's do some math to shut these console kiddies down and prove what I'm saying is correct so you don't have to take my word for it, or Sony's word for it for that matter. A full HD image is 1920 by 1080. If you multiply those two numbers, you get a little bit over 2 million pixels. 4K is 3840 times 2160. That brings you to over 8 million pixels. Now notice that 8 million pixels is 4 times 2 million pixels. So that means that a 4K image at equal graphics settings would require 4 times the graphical power of something that's just running 1080p. Now the PlayStation 4, the base model, could just barely do 1080p. I mean, there were some games that were pretty impressive, 1080p 60 frames per second, but most games on the system were just 1080p, barely hitting 30 frames per second. So how do we expect a game console with 2 times the power of the PlayStation 4, as confirmed by Sony, to do native 4K gaming? It's not happening, so console kiddies, please stop arguing that this system is going to be doing native 4K and it's making gaming PCs obsolete, because it's not. And that's not Sony's intention. Sure, they're trying to get PlayStation gamers that are itching for more performance to stay over on the PlayStation side instead of migrating over to gaming PC, and that might actually help a little bit, but this system's not meant to be a high-end enthusiast system like the Xbox Scorpio is going to be. But let's look at the Xbox Scorpio too. If we go by what we've gotten so far with the specs of the system, we know that the system is going to be roughly about as powerful as a GTX 980 or so, which is pretty strong for a gaming console. But by the time it's released in holiday 2017, that's only going to be about mid-range gaming PC level, which is normal for when a console releases nowadays. So the Xbox Scorpio is undoubtedly going to run games in higher settings than the PlayStation 4 Pro is going to, but that's still not going to be natively rendering too many games in 4K. If it wants to hit high frame rates or keep high levels of detail, it's going to be rendering in lower resolutions and doing some great filtering techniques to upscale the image properly. But that's not going to be native 4K either. So all these stupid fanboys who are arguing that these consoles are going to make PCs obsolete, just stop. You're making yourself sound stupid because both Microsoft and Sony are saying stuff that disagrees with you guys. Now, even after all the complaining I've done about the PlayStation 4 Pro, especially because of the lack of the Blu-ray drive, which is totally stupid, they really should have put that in there, I'm still getting it. Because the only reason I game on my PlayStation 4 is to play the PlayStation exclusives. I play all of my games, including most of my exclusives and multiplats, on the PC, because I like high graphical settings, I like the freedom to mod and stuff. But I obviously can't play PlayStation exclusives on the PC. I want to play them in the highest possible settings I can, including the infamous games and some other games that were confirmed to be running in improved settings on the Pro from the start. So that's what I'm getting that for. I guess since I'm getting it on release day, I will be doing an unboxing, setup, and review of the PlayStation 4 Pro when it comes out, and I'm going to include some gameplay footage, obviously. And I'm going to talk more in depth when the system comes out on November 10th about the visual detail of this system compared to a high-end gaming PC like what I have. And I can kind of show details. I mean, YouTube masks a lot of details because all the video footage is very compressed, but I can bring my camera up to the screen and kind of show detail that's in the PC games that won't be in the PlayStation games. Like, the Horizon Zero Dawn footage shown off yesterday. Beautiful. I'm definitely getting that game when it comes out. Gorgeous footage. But it's not native 4K footage. I maxed it out on my screen, watched it uncompressed. There was still detail missing in the distance, so I knew it was only probably 1440p brought up to a 4K resolution via stretching. It's nothing too amazing, but then again, this is a $400 system. I think the price is good. I think if you don't have a PlayStation 4 yet, it's a no-brainer to get it. But if you have a PlayStation 4 already, and you're not really itching to upgrade, I don't think it's really worth it. It's not giving you a huge jump, and it's certainly not replacing high-end gaming PCs.